The American flag is a cornerstone of every idealized American suburb. Paired with a cul-de-sac and white picket fences, you find yourself living the American dream. On my street alone, more than half of the houses have an American flag on display. It may not seem too abnormal, but across the country, flags reside everywhere, its meaning varying with different contexts and among different people. And all too often, the American flag finds itself at the center of violent displays of nationalism. So how did this symbol of freedom and unity become so potent? And why can it be seen everywhere, from this to this? America's flag obsession began during the Civil War, when Americans in the North started flying it outside their homes to show support for the Union. But it wasn't until World War II that it truly became a staple of every suburb. Following the war, the US emerged as a leading power and was one of few countries not in ruins, because of course, besides Pearl Harbor, none of the fighting had taken place on US soil. Americans, however, took pride in this and celebrated by hanging flags in residential and commercial areas alike. The flag's role has since been amplified during war times. In the Vietnam War, it was a strong pro-war symbol, and it later represented unity following the attacks of September 11th. This use of the flag in response to war and violence clearly comes from a place of nationalism, which echoes throughout the very fabric of the flag itself. One study found that the image of the American flag alone increases nationalistic sentiments, more than it does for patriotism. This means that exposure to the flag asserts the nation's superiority to the viewer, as opposed to promoting less radical feelings of general pride or connection to the country. And in many cases, nationalism can quickly turn violent in defense of the nation's perceived superiority. So what happens when a symbol of nationalism is hung on every street corner in America? On January 6, 2021, when protesters emerged with clear intentions of violence at the Capitol building, the American flag found a new home in the hands of the right-wing rioters. They saw the flag as a symbol of nationalism, encouraging them to take action. They brought the flags, and the flags fueled their violence. And the American flag wasn't alone. It's often displayed with other extremist-aligned flags, like the Thin Blue Line, Don't Tread on Me, and even Nazi and Confederate flags, to name a few. These variations bring new meaning to the original flag purely by association, and suddenly the original American flag becomes a symbol of extreme nationalism feared by underrepresented and marginalized groups. One reporter from the Chicago Sun-Times wonders, when did the flag become such a symbol of pain and loathing for me? She suspects the Capitol riots are to blame in some part, as the flag now conjures images of angry racists, not patriots. But this isn't always the case. Other protests use the flag minimally, if at all. Take a look at the top photos for Black Lives Matter protests, for example. One flag in sight, inscribed with the names of victims of police brutality. And then there are the photos of the Capitol riots, multiple flags visible in every single one. These associations are hard to erase, as many feel apprehensive at best when it comes to the American flag. The only solution, therefore, is to reshape the image of the flag to call attention to injustices and demand change. Let's go back to that one American flag at a Black Lives Matter protest in Chicago 2020. With the names covering the whole flag, it frames police violence as a central part of the nation, making them as visible and important as the flag itself. Similarly, the Human Rights Campaign recently launched their Reality Flag campaign, an American flag with 29 stars removed, representing the 29 states that don't have comprehensive protections for LGBTQ+ people. This striking visual takes a familiar symbol often associated with nationalism and supremacy, and alters it to make a powerful statement against this inequality. These flags are a step in the right direction. When such an iconic symbol is corrupted, the only thing left to do is to reclaim it. To reclaim the flag would be to reclaim the nation, demanding structural changes to bring the country closer to equality. Change in policy, however, is the ultimate solution. So long as the country stands for oppression, so will the flag. And the flag doesn't make it any easier to enact change when it's always encouraging nationalism, fear, and division. While we may have found ourselves in a feedback loop here, we can begin with a change in the rhetoric surrounding patriotic and nationalistic symbols, finally making the American flag represent freedom and justice for all.